the pay was good.
Of course. You cannot go somewhere without the pay is a big factor. Okay, that's good. So,
Yeah.
so you, how long did you stay in Botswana?
2.5 years.
Hello, how are you doing? Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, good night, wherever you are on the face of this globe. My name is Barnabas, and I have a friend of mine here bringing you a video that most of you have been waiting for. And I've been getting this on my DM, Barnabas, where is the video you promised? Today, so excited that you're going to get the information you've been waiting for. So I'll let him introduce himself, and then we can take it from there. Good afternoon, Albert. Welcome.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to appear on your interview. My name is Albert Juma, and I'm really excited to be able to share my experience and just to let you know some of the information you've been looking for, especially for those people who are moving from countries in Africa to come to Australia looking for opportunities in the education sector. So I'm happy to be here, and I'm going to share more about my background, my journey, and my experience. So welcome.
Thank you. So was the contract 2.5 years or?
No, the contract was for 5 years.
Okay.
Actually, going to Botswana, I had a very good 10-year plan.
Yes.
A very good 10-year plan. And I knew in those 10-year plan, I would be at least an associate prof. And I had everything in place because I had, by that time, I had like close to 20, not 20, around 15 publications when I went to Botswana. And more than what they needed for the position I was in. But because I was fresh graduate,
Yes.
I had to accept a lecturer's position.
Yeah.
And so I worked there, very good team in our physics department. I was involved in a lot of activities at the university and so many projects, including representing the university at other events like external event, outreach events. I was very active at that university. But then I don't know what happened. I don't know. We started talking, my wife started talking about Australia, and we have a friend. There's a couple in Perth. We went together in Germany, and Jared, you made me come to Australia.
Yeah, Jared, you made this guy live a nice pay in Botswana. Yes, so
yeah, Jared is a very good friend.
yeah.
So he came in Australia before he came, and he kept talking about Australia. I was like, no, this is a good place. We've done this, we've done this. Oh, you should come, you need to come. That's when we started thinking about Australia. But later on, I learned that my wife actually, it was like a childhood dream where she was still a kid. She didn't even know where the country was, but she sort of just liked this name, Australia. And then she would say, I would be in Australia one time. So it's during that time. So we were talking, and then we just started the process of coming to Australia like a joke. For me, I wasn't serious about it.
So at this time in Botswana, how old are your kids? Are they going to school? And what about your wife? Is she working?
So Purity was Purity's story is also another one for another day. She studied in grade 2, 3, 4 in 1 year. And then, 1, 2, 3 in 1 year. So we left when she was in grade 5, so she was to go to grade 6, and Pelaya was 2 years behind.
Okay.
So that's when we came here. Yeah. But my wife wasn't working because we had, the work permit was only in my name.
Yes.
So for her to work, it was another process.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is the only, that's the only disadvantage that she had. Yeah.
I've been in that situation before when we were in Seychelles.
Yeah.
My wife was not allowed to work. I was the only expatriate.
Yes.
So if you have to make your wife work, then it's another huge process.
Yeah, it's a different process.
Yeah. So that's also one.
But the pay
factor.
was good, so she was comfortable.
So how did you then start working on your coming to Australia?
So after frequent nagging from from Jared, I started like just doing research. I started research about Australia. I realized how many the structure, states, territories, and all these, and then looked at types of visa because Jared told me the type of visa that he used. So I researched about the different types of visas and the different occupations and all that information. Sorry. And then I sort of kept a journal for all those details. And so I understood the process, and I thought the best shot I can have is the 190 visa, because that way I get a permanent resident. I come and I've got some things ticked off.
Yeah.
And so that is the one that I went for. Now, interestingly, the occupation that I was falling under was only listed in Victoria, not any of the other states. That was, I think, natural sciences. And so I thought, okay, so Victoria it is. So I focused on Victoria and just went through the skills assessment. I went for the IELTS test, which I prepared for one day and really smashed it. I'm proud of that.
Hang on a second, hang on. Now, those who don't know about all this process, I just want to break a few things for you. Now, the 189 visa is a visa where you come as a skilled worker, and you come as a permanent resident straight away, and you live anywhere. You're allowed to live 190.
190 is the one applied.
Yeah, you're allowed to live in that state.
Yes, because
Only in
you're
that
nominated
state.
by that state to apply
state.
for the visa. Yes,
Correct. But 189, you can go anywhere.
Yeah.
All right. So just a brief one. If you want more video, I think I've done an explanation of that in one of the videos. You can go and check.
Yeah.
Now, when it comes to IELTS, that's where, when he said that he prepared for IELTS in one day and smashed it.
Please don't do that.
don't try that. Please don't try that at home, because he's an exceptional guy. He's in academia. Don't try that. I have done a whole video about IELTS. Please don't try that. You have to prepare a long time, because so many people have done it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times and still don't attain that.
Even 10.
Even 10 times.
Yeah.
So please don't try that. So you get your process going, and how did you, after IELTS, you
skills assessment?
Yes.
Because you need these two, most important.
Yeah.
And then, because the skills assessment is in that occupation,
Yes.
Where you fall.
Yeah.
And so with those, I submitted an expression of interest for state nomination.
Yes.
For Victoria.
After you got your assessment approved.
Yes.
Yeah. You did your expression of interest.
Yep.
And you got invited.
Yes.
To apply for the visa.
For the visa. And they gave me, I think, 60 days.
Yes.
And it was a shock, because I wasn't serious when I was doing these things.
Yeah.
I was just like, let's do it. Let me do it.
Yeah.
They're giving me 60 days to submit an application for the 190 visa.
Yeah.
And I'm not ready for it.
Yes.
I have my plan in Australia, in Botswana.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay. So it took me like 2 or so weeks just to absorb that.
Yeah.
And then we started the next step, doing the medical tests and everything, collecting all the documents. At this point, we've not told anyone what we're doing. It's just me and my wife. We haven't told anyone. The first person to know was my brother-in-law, Jeremiah, who is a very, very close friend. Because we needed some documents from Kenya, and that's the only person we could trust was going to do it for us.
Yeah.
So he got the police clearance for us and some other documents we needed. So he was like, what's going on? Why do you need this? So we had to tell him. Yeah. And then, so we submitted the application in time and forgot about it. Just moved on with our life. And then I think on 5th September, I wake up in the morning and I'm checking my emails and I say, congratulations. It's like, your visa was approved. Granted. You should enter Australia before February 2018. That was now another stressful moment, because I wasn't expecting it to be that quick, and actually it was like less than a year, the whole thing. And At that time, I had applied earlier in the year for promotion to senior lecturer position. And so I get that, and then I'm like, what do we do? And the rest of the month of September, we are processing this news. And then after that, okay, so what do we do? So we looked at all the options. The best shot we had was to just move all of us once to Australia, settle once, and move on. The other option would have been come, leave them here, I go back and work, because that's what I had seen some other people do, and then slowly transition slowly. And then, so looking at that, the age of the kids and other aspects of our personal lives, we were like, nah, just do it once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, just going back to the process,
Yeah.
okay? I know we will talk about teaching when we get there,
Yeah.
teaching, because that's probably the main reason why I brought you to the show.
Yeah.
But many people don't believe that you can start this process of skill assessment
Yeah.
and do the entire process until you get your visa grant within 1 year.
Could
you tell them? Could you tell? Because when I talk about these things, sometimes people think because I'm a content creator, I just try to hype things. Can you talk to them?
Yeah, I think what people fail to do is due diligence. That is it. Because if you take time, research, everything is right there on the government websites. It's straightforward. It says eligibility 1, 2, 3. If you tick those areas, you're ready to go. It tells you the steps and the processes. If you need to, when you're applying, submit your documents, all the required documents within the time that is required. It will take the time that is listed on the immigration website, that the timeline. If you check the timeline, it indicates how long it takes for maybe 75% of the visas to be processed. It actually takes that long.
Yeah, and it's shown in the website.
It is shown there, all the information is there. But this is something I've seen also, because there are people who ask me to advise them on, like, how did you go there? What do I need to do? You send them information, they don't read. They are like, where do I apply? Come on.
So all the information is there. And that's why in one of the videos I said, in my experience, I think the visa system of Australia is more certain than any other I have experienced.
Very straightforward.
Because if you have what they have put there in the website, the way they want it, you submit the documents that they have put. They usually give you a list of the documents that they require. If you can provide what they need, you're almost certain that you're going to get it. All right? There is no interview in some, queer, whatever, interviews that you don't know what they will ask. No, there's nothing like that.
And you cannot influence the process.
You can't. Okay? So everything is very, very straightforward. Now, back to your coming to Australia. You now drop everything, you leave your 10-year vision in in Botswana. You all decide to come to Australia. Okay? Remember, the 190 visa, it doesn't give you a job.
No, it doesn't.
All right? What it gives you is a visa. It says you're a skilled worker, come to Australia and establish yourself here. You can live here permanently. That's what it gives you. It doesn't give you an offer letter. All right? There is no job. So you come to Australia. Describe for me how you settled. What are you doing next?
I think it was God sent again, because when we arrived, on the day that we arrived, there was a function within the Kenyan community, just in, I think, somewhere in Manda. And our host took us to this event. And from there, we made contact with the new friends. We established friendships there. And some of the people that are close to our family are those we met on that day, the first day. And from there, like, there's one person I remember, we had a lengthy conversation. I still remember the conversation we had. And I've always consulted with this guy on many things. And so from there, we were introduced to other Kenyan community groups, And it was through those connections and building that network that actually got my first job at Monash. So, so before I came, I had applied for a position at Monash University. I just wrote directly to the head of physics and astronomy and said, I'm migrating to Australia and I'm just writing to ask if there's an opportunity when I arrive. And he told me, once you get here, can you contact me? And that's how I got my first job as a tutorial fellow at Monash Uni. And then through another friend, I was introduced to another friend who was working at Deakin University, and he had a research project going on, so he took me as his research assistant. So at the time I was working at Monash, a tutorial fellow, I was also working at Deakin as a research assistant on some project. And then through that, my wife also got invited to another ladies' timeout. She got in touch with she was introduced to other people, and through that, that's how she also got her first job at a factory in Epping. And the rest just was building on that. So that network helped us a lot.
Oh,
yeah.
Beautiful. You keep talking about the network community. We're going to talk about that as the last point.
Yeah.
Now you settle down and everyone is, my kids are in school and everything settles.
Yeah.
And do you look behind and think, did I make a mistake? Or if the things that you had planned, are actually ahead of you, do you see them coming? Do you see that your vision and the things that made you come to Australia are going to happen at that point in the first 1, 2 months, 1 year? What is in your mind, both of you, as a family?
We are just looking at getting things going, like settling, having some source of income, paying our bills. We had some savings, which took us quite a good period of time. But then we are looking at how do we settle, get a job, and then because we are still trying to learn and understand how Australia works. And we learned this thing called Australian experience. Which is a really pain in the life of immigrants when you land here. Because it doesn't matter who you are when you come to Australia. Australian experience is very important. So you end up looking for something to do to gain that experience.
Correct.
And I think it was through that I got a job at La Trobe. And I was a La Trobe unit through another network again. And at that time it's still a bit bleak, like not so clear where we are heading. And there are moments like you look back and you're like, maybe we made a mistake, or maybe I should have gone back, work and just like save a bit more money and then come. But then I was like, maybe that will take a long time to settle down. And then so
it just postpones your settling. Anyway.
Exactly. So when you look at that, you're like, okay, no, I think that was the best shot we had. So that was the confidence that we had, because if you look back and look at other alternatives, you just realize no.
You just need to do whatever you need to do and find it and settle down. Because all these things build up. So long as you've settled, you've known the system, and you have networks, build up a community around you. All these things will just come. All right. I want us to shift gears a bit, because otherwise I think we might need another time to talk about just settling in Australia. But let's shift gears a bit and talk about pathways. Okay, you're in academic and field, and you've been a teacher. How do somebody? Let's talk about two categories of people. An international student who is coming, probably have done education back home, but they're coming here to do masters in education, and they want to settle down here and settle and teach in Australia. What do they need to do very quickly?
I think the very first thing you need is to get your IELTS done. Because that has been the obstacle of most of the people who have come here with education. Even in teaching experience of many years back in Kenya. But then to get your registration, because here you need to get your registration, because there are standards that you've got to to meet as a teacher. So you need that done. So you need, that's the first thing. And then you need to have your transcript, university transcript. You need to have a letter saying that you actually did your teaching practice in Kenya, how long the teaching practice was, the age of the students that you are teaching, because that tells the system here which level, of whether it's primary or secondary. And with that, those are the main things. And most of the time you find people have everything except the IELTS results. And that is because the requirement for the IELTS is very high. You've got to get, I think it was 7.5 for education. And I think there are 2 bands
So
you
for
need
now,
to get more than 8.
So for now, I think you need to get at least 7 in reading and writing. But you need to get at least 8 in speaking and listening.
So your average,
high.
your average is 7.5.
Correct. So that's really a very difficult thing for many. There might be, you already have work experience, very good, perfect work experience. You can prove you have your degree, you have everything except that IELTS. So that's the thing that you need to do first. All right. So does that apply to international students and also the skilled, those who are applying back home as skilled workers?
The requirements are the same. So for example, in Victoria, there is the Victoria Institute of Teaching. So the VIT, so that is the institute that processes. It's like the TSC in Kenya. So they only process your licensing or your permission. There are different levels of registration that you need. So you register with them to get permission to teach here. And the requirements are the same, regardless. As long as you've not studied here for a given period of time that they require, I think minimum 4 years or so, or the UK, New Zealand, US, or Canada. Any other country, you've got to do the IELTS. And then those other documents, and everything is just on that website.
Everything is in there.
Is there, and there's no shortcut. That's just what it is.
And so let me ask you, if somebody is in, for example, Kenya, they have been teaching in high school for some time now, but they want to come. Okay. The first thing they need to do, in fact, they should not ask anything else. The first thing they need to do, what is it?
There are a couple of ways, depending on the pathway. So you can, like this, I'll take this example. There's one, I think almost 3 or 4 people that I know who applied for teaching while back in Kenya. So getting your documents in place and then getting your IELTS, that is usually the key things you need to do.
And so then do your skill assessment.
But then the skills assessment, you need the IELTS.
You first of all, you need to do IELTS.
So that's the biggest hurdle.
So do the IELTS, get your papers assessed, and then worry about where to get the job, isn't it?
But then you can still do those in parallel. You can go to the state that you're interested in. Look at the recruitment or the jobs that are there. There's a recruitment online for Victoria. Other states might have a different platform where they advertise like teaching jobs. You can sign up there, put your profile there, and then create like job alerts, and then you'll be getting those job alerts. You can apply. Now, if you're lucky, you might get a school that might help you through the process, which is rare. Another option would be to get in touch with a recruitment agent. And then I think I've talked to some recruitment agents just about the process and asked, what does someone need to do? And they said, you've got to get the IELTS and get your documents. Once you've got those, there are agents who can help you like in getting a job and then through the recruitment process for you to come. So, but basically you can see that the trend is almost the same. Get
your IELTS done, because all these things, for you to teach in Australia, You
Yeah.
will have to have the IELTS.
Yes.
And you have to have the skill assessment.
Yeah.
Whether you are the one who is doing it or somebody else is helping you to do it, you will have to finally do it because the
Yeah.
standard is the same.
Yeah.
You have to attain to that standard and have the standard that they require before you start teaching. All right. So you cannot, it's all level. Whether you're coming to teach in a private school or in a public school,
Yeah.
the process is the same.
Yeah.
Talk to me about lecturers and tutors. Is the process the same or is it different?
The process is different because to work in academia, it's more about your qualifications and your experience. So you can apply for a PhD position, and that could be a pathway for you to go into academia. You get a PhD position, come do your PhD, impress your supervisor and other people, and you might get a pathway into lecturing.
Yeah.
Another option would be apply directly for a lecturer's position. And if you're lucky, you get it, but they're very competitive because you are competing against someone from the US or someone from UK or whatever other country who might have very relevant experience to the work that is happening here. So it's really difficult to apply, let's say, for example, from Kenya as a lecturer to University of Melbourne or any other university, La Trobe or RMIT, when you are there.
Yeah.
Because the pool of candidates would be very diverse and there are those who will just stand out. And also it's easier to recruit someone who is here because they won't need to cater for your relocation.
Yeah.
So they would save money by recruiting someone who is already here.
Yeah.
So applying for academia jobs when you're here you have a better chance.
Yeah.
But if you're back in Kenya or another developing country, it's really difficult.
So would that mean that then if you're an academia and you're back in those countries, it's probably easier to process your skill assessment?
Yeah.
In that way, again, get your skill assessed and then come on a permanent resident visa or whatever visa it is without a job, stay here in Australia and then look for a job while you're already here, because otherwise it will be difficult. They won't even tell what level you are, what is the experience,
unless you are exceptional. Unless you are exceptional. When you're out there, your work speaks for you. Now, I don't know how many people are like that. But
so what do you mean by that? What do you mean by that? Because I don't know. I don't know what if you're exemption or in academia.
So let's say
number of publications you've done. What is?
And not just the number, the type of publications. In which journals have you published?
Yeah.
How many research projects are under your name, and who are the funders of those projects? So if you've got projects from international organizations, that means that you are influence or your expertise goes beyond the borders. So that means it's easier for you to fit in another country. It's easier for them to actually take on you. But not many people get those opportunities. And also you need to have attracted very large funds because when you come to a research institution or research university, they expect you also to be able to attract funding. And sometimes if you check on the university websites, you can find some fundings which are advertised. There are also some government departments that advertised those research positions, like postdocs or PhD positions. Those are opportunities you can apply from outside. I know people here who have actually applied, especially for PhD positions, right outside. And they've gotten them, and those are pathways that you can use now to get into academia.
Wow, we can talk about that for a long time now. Since we started talking, you kept talking about how to settle, whether it was settling in Germany, Estonia, Botswana, or even here. You kept talking about how to settle down, build community around you, and things will just work out. You network with people because all the jobs you've got, all the things you've got, it's about because of network.
Yeah.
From your after high school,
Yes.
every job that you've gotten, it's not because your father or your relative was
No.
somewhere. It's because of network and
Yeah.
having a community around you. And that has led you to become one of our community leaders here in Melbourne.
Yeah.
Before you tell us about what you do in the community, talk to people again about the importance of having a community around you. Whether you're new here or you've been here for a while, what is the importance of having a community around you?
Yeah, so one of them is what I've been mentioning about opportunities. You get to hear about opportunities through the network, through the community. You get to know people, and sometimes I've seen people meeting their primary schoolmates or secondary schoolmates, and it makes you have that sense of belonging. You feel you are at home. You feel you have a support system around you, because when you need the things that you might need, even information, you get it from that network. And also because this is a country away from home, the cultural setting is different. So when you have that community around you, there's that cultural environment that creates, and that actually helps to build your well-being, just your mental health, your spiritual health, including your physical health and your social health. So all that, just having a support system around you, there is a lot of things that it helps, like just to be as a whole human. Yeah.
Good. So for you, even up to now, what are some of the communities around you?
So mainly the Kenyan community, that's the main one. And I think there's also the professional community, that is other people, especially in the education sector, that I've met through my job. That is another group I have. And then also I've got also like the Christian community, people at church, and also got like an interdenominational fellowship that I go to. So those are some of the groups that I actually like belong to and associate with, and I feel like I belong to. Yeah.
Good. You're one of our leaders here in the Kenyan community. Tell us what you do, and then talk to those who are coming, international students who are not here yet, and even those who are here. There have been challenges, in the community, with people who are here, whether they've been here for a while, but they're just finding it difficult to cope with different things. Talk to us,
Yeah, so I'm within the Kenya Community Victoria Committee. That is, I've been serving for the last 2 years. And actually I got in the Kenya Community Victoria because we established a group like the Northern Suburbs. So we just came together and said it's good to have a community group where we meet regularly and have barbecue, nyama choma, and just some community activities where we just meet and spend time together. And it was through that I was actually proposed to be a representative of the Northern Suburbs within the Kenya Community Victoria. And because of that, there are other suburbs have also, there are groups that have been formed to represent the different suburbs. And then I'm also the secretary to the Kenhouse Fellowship. That is an interdenominational fellowship that gathers every week. And we meet every second week of the month. Yeah. So every second Saturday of every month we meet somewhere close to the city. We've got a very nice venue where we meet to have fellowship, interact with people, meet new people, welcome visitors or new students, new arrivals, or just have time together. Now, for those who are planning to come to Australia or come to Melbourne or Victoria, and even those who are here, it's very important to identify the group, let's say the community group within your suburbs where you are. If you are in the north, in the west, in the east or southeast, those are the major groupings. And also just find a group, religious group. If you're not a Christian, you've got a religious group that you belong to. Identify yourself with those groups. Your professional network, that's very important. If you're a student at the university, you've got student services, you've got representatives, maybe of different groups or from different countries where you come from. Those are places where you start from. And from there, ask for information. I think the best thing you can do is to ask for information. And also just share your own experience, because people are willing to listen when you share your experience, and then they're like, okay, based on that, this might be helpful. And you end up getting information that you didn't know that you actually needed. So identify a group, belong to one, and that will really help you in terms of settling down and finding opportunities around here. Yeah,
because this city can be a very big big city for you.
It can be very lonely.
You can get lost in here because you come here and you think you're all alone. You think that the problems that you're going through, you're the only one, you know. But when you sit down with people and they tell you their story, they tell you how they settled down, you realize, so this, you also went through that. And so you get to, solutions, even getting jobs.
And sometimes you realize that your problems are not that bad. There are people who've been in worse problems than what you're going through. So, and that is encouraging.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So even if it's work, these people know a lot of, when you sit down and you're looking for work, you start talking to people and they tell you, you want this kind of, can you do this kind of work? And then that way you just get somewhere to start.
Yeah.
And from there you build, and you build up, and you and even students. We didn't come, me and yourself, we didn't come here as students, but even students, because of the pressure of paying school fees and working at the same time, and you probably have responsibilities back at home. Some of them get overwhelmed. But when you talk to other students, you realize that it's doable. They did it. They've changed status. And you realize that you can actually do it, and they will tell you how to do it. Okay, so please, you must get yourself, as part of a community. Don't walk alone. Okay, you must get yourself amongst the community. We are just winding up, and I want to see if there is anything that I need to ask Albert before we go. But I think we probably have spoken about almost everything. Now, just other business, A or B. Okay, what is it that you want to tell my viewers? You've watched my channel, you see what I do. What is it that you can tell our viewers as you wind up?
I think do your due diligence. If you are looking for an opportunity, you've got to go out and go for it. Look for information, keep a journal if you can, just to keep track of what you're looking for. And just to remember that Australia is different from Kenya. Things work differently. And if you get to a new country like this, please learn how things work here. Because things that work in your country may not work here, or they may work differently. So just making sure that you observe that. And the other thing here is that no one is above the law. And if you break the law, it will catch up with you. So just making sure you follow the rule of law, regardless of who you are and where you are. That is very, very important. Just make sure that if you're not sure with something, ask instead of trying to experiment. Something as simple as crossing a red light. So
correct. One last question that is just coming into my mind. Probably we will end it there, but this one question. You came from almost becoming a senior lecturer in Botswana. Back to you were jobless. What you had was a permanent resident visa grant. To come and settle in Australia.
Just papers.
Just papers to moving in Australia. And I believe that you're starting, what you started, well, you got a job at the university, but you were a research, you know, basically assisting in research.
Yeah.
What a big drop. Somebody would say, how do you come from being a senior lecturer straight down to starting, like almost graduating from the university? Somebody would look at it that way.
Yeah.
But in you, what is really in your mind? What did you see, you know, that you'd achieve more from Australia than staying back in Botswana and being a senior lecturer and so on? What did you see, and how do you bridge that? How do you most people come and then they get disappointed. They think probably I made a mistake, and I'm not sure some of them even go back and say, you know, I think I made a mistake. What do somebody need to see to settle and say, I burn the bridges and I start afresh, and this is what I need to go for?
Yeah, I think it's different for everyone. Everyone's situation will be different, and people come to these countries for different reasons. So the reason why you've made that step is what will sustain you or what will keep you. So if you left your country or left Kenya, you've come and your intention is never to go back, then you'll approach things different. But then for my case, it's more like looking further ahead, and I'm looking at especially my kids. I think it's more about them, because for me, I think where I've come from to where I am, I'm really proud of what I've achieved, and that the things that education I've achieved has actually done to me, opportunities that I've seen. They are a lot, and it's more about developing myself as a person more than what I've got, like materially. It's more about how I have grown as a person. And so I can make a decision, because now I'm a teacher in secondary school. I teach at secondary school. I've taught in a public secondary school. I'm currently teaching a private secondary school, and the experience is different. But then coming from a senior lecturer and then making that decision, I think is one of the realities that people face when they move from one country to another, that there are some sacrifices that you make. Sometimes one, because you're forced to, and sometimes two, because you are looking for another opportunity. Now, for me, it's sort of like both. So I was forced to by circumstances, and so I had to sort of like reinvent myself. I'm like, okay, so what can I do to keep growing myself, to keep developing myself in terms of my profession, my career, and even myself as a person. So that's how I ended up doing a Master of Teaching. So now I have 2 master's degree and a PhD, and so that allowed me to go into teaching, because I didn't have a teaching qualification, so I couldn't just switch and teach secondary school. I had to go through the process, do a master's, do everything that was required, and now I'm a qualified registered secondary school teacher for, like, this is the 6th year. So that has been a journey in itself, and now I'm thinking completely different. Even if I were to go back to university, I wouldn't go back to do the same thing that I did, because things have actually changed. I've been away from that space for a long time, so I would be going as completely different person or different career path, but that's not in my mind at the moment. At the moment, I just want to build myself as a teacher and as a professional in the education sector.
Beautiful. You got to be flexible.
That's the point.
Otherwise, you if you didn't know what you really want, you end up being frustrated. You know, So you got to know what you want as a person or as a family, and that really affects your settling and your development here.
And maybe just one thing. I met in my these interactions and networking. I've met people who have been through worse situations than myself, like a change in terms of their career before they arrived here and when they arrived here. But then because I know someone who had to go back to Kenya to reevaluate the decision, but later came back here. So every person's journey will look different.
Yeah.
But as you talk to people, as you interact with the people, you get encouragement, you learn lessons, and you realize that number one, you're not alone in that circumstance. Number two, there are people who have been in worse situations. And number three, there are people who have been in better positions, which is sort of like inspiring that you can learn from someone's journey to be able to build your own journey.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. And so changing careers are possible here.
Very
I've
much.
seen people who've come here as teachers that ended up being nurses.
Yep.
Others have, come here as accountants, becoming something else.
Yeah.
So you just got to be flexible. What works for you?
Yeah.
And situations are different.
Yeah.
What pushes you to go to that line could be
Yeah.
different, and so on. You just need to be focused at looking at the big picture.
Yeah, and never settle where you are unless don't be too comfortable. There are more opportunities to get better. Yeah, so look out for them.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. I think we wrap it up that moment, and I want to thank you, Albert, really for honoring my invite. I think it's been long coming, but we've had a Easter break, so we took an opportunity to meet and actually do this. And I know that it will help you, those who are already here and those who are planning to come.
Yeah.
And so thank you very much, Albert. I appreciate you. I think we really need a second meet. This time round, we will focus on your family, maybe your family life a little bit, because I think there's a lot of very important points that I was resisting from going there. Otherwise, we would have changed the story really. But maybe this time we'll talk more about your life generally as a person and not as a career this time round. But really, thank you very much. Unless you have anything to add.
No, just a pleasure to be here, and I just hope that my story inspires someone.
Yeah.
Does it?
Great.
Yeah.
Great. Beautiful. Thank you very much, my viewers. Please, if you haven't subscribed to this YouTube channel, I want to ask you to subscribe. It is free, guys. You don't pay for it. All right? Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can follow us on TikTok and Facebook. And I'm also starting to post videos on Instagram. But wherever you can find us, please follow us. But most importantly, subscribe to our YouTube channel. But thank you very much for tuning in. And I will meet you again. Till next time, my name is Barnabas, the son of encouragement. Bye-bye, and God bless you. And thank you very much, Albert.
Thank you for the opportunity.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.